Καλώς ορίσατε σε ακόμα ένα επεισόδιο Clicks and Cocktails. Σήμερα μαζί μας η Sophia Paraskeva, Communications and Marketing Manager at Cybarco Developments. Σοφία μου, καλώς όρισες. Today you're on the other side of the table. Νομίζω η πρώτη φορά.
Ναι, nerve-wracking. First time filmed on the other side of the table, yes. So I'm glad I have this. Some Dutch courage.
So I want to welcome you to this podcast, and it's a great honor to have you with us. So as a first step, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and your background and what's your current role.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to be here. I'm currently responsible for marketing communications across Cybarco, which I think can be quite baffling for people because we're associated very much with our special projects. So people know Limassol Marina, they know Trilogy, which is the latest project we've delivered in Limassol. Obviously, they know that we're involved in Limassol Greens, the golf project, that we were involved in Aphrodite Hills. But then there's so much going on in between as well that does take up a lot of our time. So we have a beautiful master plan gated development in Agamas near the peninsula with villas. And we have smaller projects dotted all over Limassol and also in Nicosia. So with my massive team of 2 people, it's just me and Alexia, but there are 2 of us across all the Cybarco branded developments, all the special projects. We also offer consulting in terms of marketing to some of the special projects that have their own marketing teams. And we are, I would say, in liaison with a lot of partners and subcontractors, like people who work with us on all of these projects but are not in-house, unlike a lot of other, I know developers now have a lot of in-house designers, in-house digital teams. We're just 2.
I didn't know that, to be completely honest with you. And I had the impression that you are more than 2 people, because people that I interview from similar or parallel industries, they usually have like in-house designers, creatives, which is super important. They have in-house people for the CRM and the property management that it's related to marketing. So it's amazing how 2 people, you manage all the projects of Cybarco. How?
I think that for me, one of the advantages, I mean, okay, a lot of it has to do with personality as well, because I have been offered an extension to the team many times. And I think we're just so busy all the time that sometimes I feel like we don't have the leisure and the luxury of taking time out to bring someone new in and get them familiar with it, which is terrible on my part. But essentially, Alexia and I work really well together. We complement each other really well. And because we have a branding agency in London who we've been working with for almost 20 years now, we are very strict in terms of setting a brand for each project, and particularly the special projects. And then we, the 2 of us, adopt the brand, the tone of voice, the language. So we feel a great deal of ownership over our babies, because it's something that we are so involved in from the creative process. We very rarely just hand over a brief and ask somebody to come back with a logo and brand guidelines. And we're very much involved in the creative process, and that's something that we really enjoy. And we do have, under Cybarco development, we have obviously people in the sales team who are equally across the CRM with us. And then we have sister companies, Cyprus, who are doing property management and rentals. Again, we're their marketing team. But I mean, you have a sort of a team of people, a bit like an ecosystem. So because everybody's very involved in the creative process, I'd say we're more in a role of a coordinator in terms of how we dish out the strategy and how we follow it up with our partners. So it's a different way of working, but it keeps it tight. It keeps it solid, because we feel very aligned with the brands.
It's very important for you to say this, because a lot of the times, either people sitting in this chair or when I'm in meetings, I've heard the challenge of marketing managers or team leaders, or that they find it difficult how to be cohesive or how to maintain that brand consistency when they have to work with different brand babies or brand entities under one brand, if it makes sense.
It's
what I'm trying to say.
It's very tricky because you can hear it in your voice when you're writing posts. I mean, we even do all of that in-house at the moment, which is not something I should be celebrating. I definitely need to start letting go. I need to let the babies fly. But I mean, the two of us are very much on top of content and copywriting. And because we have each brand running through our veins, it's like as soon as I'm going to write a post for Trilogy, I'm immediately switching into that demographic because I know our target group that well. And there's an energy to it that's very difficult, but because everything comes under the Lanidis group, and I mean, we haven't touched on this, but obviously Cybarco Development is a member of the Lanidis group, and also there's Cybarco Contracting as well. So they build a lot, if not most, of our projects for us. So there is this sense of heritage and legacy and family about everything that we do, that means that if you are not fitting in well with the company culture and the mentality, which equals to me, to you, I'm sure, the brand, the system has a magical way of letting you go.
I think this is true for all the companies that they grow up, or there's a growth like over time. They go from like a small company, small team, then go to like massive and this conglomerate of brands. That I see the same pattern. People that are there from the beginning, they feel it like their own, and if you don't share the same mindset and culture, the system like kind of throws you out. And to compliment you on the company as well, I've heard this from other people saying this for Lanidis group as well, that there is a similar mindset, a culture that gives you the feeling of belonging when you work there, and that's one of the reasons that makes a lot of their people never want to leave the company. And I think it's one of the few companies that they have like people in key positions that are with them for a long time.
It's very difficult because, I mean, even for us, of course, when you close a cycle somewhere, I mean, I was at Limassol Marina for my first 10 years in Cyprus on PR and then marketing. And even though it wasn't 100% Lanidis group, it wasn't, you know, Cybarco was in with another 6 shareholders. I had so much to do on a day-to-day basis with Cybarco marketing because they were consulting us on the marketing, that I organically gravitated towards Cybarco, because in working with them, we realized that there was a similar wavelength, a similar way of working, and similar values. And this is, again, something that people, and you would know better than I do, but obviously I've only been working professionally in Cyprus since 2008. Before that, I was in London. And we often discuss this with our agency in London. I feel as if the whole brand wheel, the purpose, the essence, the values, these are things that unless you're a startup, they really do get forgotten or pushed under the table. And there's not enough emphasis on the core of the business and the brand. Everyone's so busy with the tools and the tactics that they forget where this has all started. And we always say, go back to the brief. And for me, going back to the brief is also going back to the essence of what Cybarco is. And when we rebranded 7 years ago, I mean, we did the exercises we went through, the journey we went through to get to where we agreed Cybarco destination developer. And we were saying one of our taglines was shaping Cyprus since 1945. But the essence at the heart of our brand wheel for internal communications was feel at home. So it wasn't just we want our customers and our buyers and our investors to feel at home with us and in their properties. We want employees to wake up and feel at home when they come to work. Because when we did a survey with all of our staff and we extended it to the group as well, family was something that just kept coming up. It kept coming up again and again and again. And, you know, the Lanidis family, they've done so much for Limassol, where the bulk of our activity is. And the family are there. They work with us, you know, and they're one of the team. I mean, I commend it more times than I possibly could. And, you know, like somebody like Gaderina, who's now the general manager of B Cyprus Property Management, she will get involved in a million other things that aren't part of her responsibility because she's passionate as well. So they're part of a business that they founded, but they actually love it as well, which is, it seeps through. You can feel it.
It's very inspiring and refreshing to hearing that such big companies, they have this genuine culture in their core. And it's super important for companies to know who they really are, because I find quite often that it's very challenging. Every time the management change or the marketing manager change, all of a sudden people get confused as to who we are and how we communicate and what we do, because each person brings a different vision and approach on the table. So I think this is one of the maybe secrets of success, that
it's definitely something I would say it's absolutely critical. And what's equally critical, and I mean this applies to leadership across the board, it's very important that if Sophia disappears tomorrow, you know, I might just decide I'm upping and leaving and going on a trip and never coming back. But if Sophia disappears, if Alexia disappears, can the brand stand the test of time without those people there to drive the language, the tone of voice, and the ethos and the values? If the CEO changes, is there enough there to keep the foundation grounded? And I think that's why for us it's very important that we keep reminding people where we started and what the vision is, and to a great extent as well that we're also doing this for the good of Cyprus. And I think it was Evagoras Lanidis, we always use this quote that first you have to do what's right for your country, because if your country flourishes, your business will as well. So we have a reverse psychology on projects that give something back to the community, hence the first super yacht marina on the island. Trilogy is the largest high-rise mixed-use development, I think, in the Mediterranean region. I mean, it's quite vast in its scale. And to what you were saying before, ironic really, because we've just opened Oris, which is our fire kitchen and bar at Trilogy. And obviously it's a Trilogy baby that's being managed by Lanidis Entertainment. And we've created it with Lambs and Lions Studio in Berlin, who they're the interior designers behind Neumann Skorpios in Mykonos. And with the team, obviously, chef Athinagoras Kostagos is leading the whole culinary direction. And again, from Neumann, he's also now at Bacchanali in London. He's all over the world, bringing sort of the Greek Mediterranean kitchen to people. And also the Clumsies from Athens doing the cocktails. So we started this exercise of hiring. We needed a general manager, we needed a team, and obviously food and beverage. It's another podcast altogether, but it's a really tough industry at the moment. You can't find people. It's very hard, and those who are well-trained and have experience are so desired that they might say that they're coming for an interview and just not appear the next day. I mean, it's that competitive. But again, Lambs and Lions with us and Athinagoras, the brand development wasn't just about how's the logo going to look, how are the colors of the signs and the menu going to complement the interior. It was very much about the dining experience, because if your values are all about bringing salt and fire and earth and water and stone to the shores of Limassol, everything around that has to adhere. And the general manager has to understand that in order for the team to be able to present themselves the right way, to speak the right way. It filters into everything.
It starts from the top.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I said this before, but I find this industry very, I would dare to say difficult, not just challenging. Difficult in the sense of communication. At the end of the day, what do you communicate? It's easier to communicate like a product that you can see and touch.
Sorry, cheers.
I think it's an appropriate question now to drink.
I thought I might need a sip for this one.
But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you're in the development sector, among other things. But you do touch a little bit of restaurant and hospitality. You do touch a little bit of experience in Cyprus and living in Cyprus. And you do have multiple audiences, either expats in Cyprus or Cypriots or people abroad. And you need to be able to promote Cyprus as a destination abroad at the same. So many different things all at the same time.
It is.
And yet there is so much competition. In this, not everyone is directly a competitor, I get that. But again, there's so much competition in this industry. How do you tackle everything? How do you manage to stand out?
Right, so let's go. I'll try and start from the big picture because if I get into the details, I'll be here all day. But I totally agree with you. And obviously, the fact that it's so multifaceted is what makes it so challenging, hence why I'm still here after so many years, because there is never a dull moment. Like every day I wake up and something new is coming, something different is coming in. Every project has its own personality. And I mean, you know as well as I do that things in Cyprus change all the time. So many unprecedented challenges with geopolitics and COVID and whatnot. And of course, the development and construction sector is the one that gets the big brunt of it. I think I'll use Limassol Marina as a really good example of what you just presented. So here we were entering into an agreement with the government for a build, design, operate, transfer and finance a project that was part of a strategy to bring nautical tourism to Cyprus. So obviously this was one of many marinas that were being developed in order for us to improve the caliber of our tourism, to bring money into the economy. So it starts with Cyprus. It always starts with Cyprus, even if it's just one of our own personal projects. There's supply and demand. We've got so many companies now, ICT companies moving to Limassol who need places to stay, whether it's the owners, the executives or their staff. They need places to eat. They need places to go. So by default, even with the yachting at Limassol Marina, with the destination itself, the leisure and the culture facilities, it was always about Cyprus. So you start with the destination, which, to be fair, before projects like Aphrodite Hills, it was very difficult to attract high net worth individuals. And then all of a sudden, all these projects started sprouting up, infrastructure projects, large scale projects, prices started going up. There was demand, obviously. I think there's a lot of debate about that, but of course there was demand, and we are continuing to sell despite all the challenges. So you have a project like Limassol Marina with yachts from 8 meters to 110, and that in itself is a completely broad market. Completely
new product.
You can have your fuscodo and be drinking a beer, or you can have a yacht that's worth billions on the other side of the breakwater. And then we had the apartments and the villas that ranged at the time from $500,000 to 18, I think. And then you had the gym, the restaurants, the beach bar, the cultural center, and these were all for the local community and tourists. So that level of diversity absolutely cannot be achieved with a real estate strategy on its own, because in order for somebody to want to invest 3 million, add a 1 million in a property in a destination like that, it has to have the right vibe, It has to be successful. Nobody wants to live in a ghost town. It has to have an opportunity for good returns. It has to have good rental yields, which means, again, it has to be successful, because if you're going to buy to rent it out, you want some action. It can't just be a dead building. So there's all these things at play that make it so interesting and give you the ability to differentiate yourself. So with Limassol Marina and Trilogy, I mean, Trilogy, the two front towers, we only actually have, I think, 3 apartments left for sale.
Oh, wow.
And those in each building, which was designed with Hakim, WKK Architects. Hakim Kanucci was on the Burj Al Arab team back in the Atkins day. Then he did the Oval with us in Limassol, and then Trilogy. And he very carefully considered the needs of the local community, the neighborhood, and each tower has a double height retreat with a spa and gym and indoor and outdoor pool, so that the residents at the front towers can have their own sort of unique experience within the tower. But then if they cross the bridge, they go to a huge 7,000 square meter oasis at the back. And then down in the plaza, there's restaurants, a gallery, and shops that are open to the public. So you could spend $1 million there, or you could spend $1 million in a building that just has a reception. Might be in a more premium location, but somebody will sit and really rationalize these decisions. And that's what I think Cybarco has always been very good at doing, at listening to customers. We have a lot of repeat customers, at trying to suss out the needs of the community as well, so that we're not just doing something for the buyers. We like to think more long term. And we're very rarely just selling real estate. It's more than a property. It's about the destination. It starts with Cyprus. I mean, back in the Marina days, we had to go to Monaco and try and tell people where Limassol Marina was. It was pointless starting with Limassol Marina. We started with Cyprus. Then we sold the benefits of Limassol as a city. And then we explained that, you know, the marina is in the center of the cultural heart of the city. So when the crews come, the owners come, they have everything they need at their doorstep. So it is a story, a narrative that begins with Cyprus. And just to round off on that, sorry, it's that I really do think that, I don't know if it's in our mentality, but we don't see it as competition. If anything, when you look at the Association for Marinas and the Association for Golf and the Land and Building Developers Association, we are all very much for incentives that benefit everybody, because we're creating lots of jobs, we're bringing a lot of money into the economy, we are trying to do something collectively, and there's no use just one developer or one marina doing well. We all have to be doing well in order for Cyprus to be an attractive destination.
That's actually pretty true. And I wanted to ask here, if you can answer, of course, do you get any recognition or support from the local authorities or stakeholders, I would say, because you as a company had to invest a lot of resources, I would say, to promote Cyprus, to open up a path leading to putting Cyprus on the map as a destination, because you were one of the first companies, if I'm not mistaken, that started this concept of Cyprus, the ideal relocation destination, because you're in the middle of the Mediterranean, easy access to Europe, easy access to Middle East.
The crossroads of 3 continents. We've been saying that for years.
So I think you've done a lot of work that does not directly translate to immediate money, like you sold an apartment. Does this kind of work get recognized? Is it part of the job? Do you get any support from local stakeholders for you to do this?
Look, I think, and it's an interesting question given the subject of your podcast, because this is where I firmly believe that the marketeers, so the people involved in the branding, the PR, the marketing, are so integral to the networks that are created, because yes, absolutely, the private and the public sector still have to cooperate in ways that are far more efficient and smoother. And you know all about digitization and digitalization. If it wasn't for COVID, we'd be way behind. So we're very glad in terms of our cooperation with departments, public departments and the government that things are getting better. But there's two key things here. One is the networks that you create. And I mean, you know, the team of local architects that we have, our sales director, our CEO, our owners, these are relationships, and you're building relationships, and nobody expects, because I know in Cyprus we have this thing of meso. Believe you me when I tell you how many years envelopes were sitting on desks waiting for permits and approvals for us to start projects as significant as Limassol Marina, you will realize that even then, meso doesn't count. But what you need to have is good networks so that you can get to the right people and be able to influence decisions. You need to be able to influence policies, legislations, and it's something that I think they're doing a lot better now. I know that the developers are going now to the government and they're asking for more incentives for the land prices so that we can build more for the local community. There's all of these things bubbling under the radar. But yes, we do get the support that we need. Is the support that we need good enough? If it isn't good enough, I certainly don't want to blame the individuals. Like, we have some fantastic people really working really hard to help us with permits and with the bureaucracy. At the end of the day, the wheel has to turn. So there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. We could be doing a lot better. And do we feel that we're recognized? I do think that in terms of the big picture, we all work quite collectively with the chambers of commerce, GEVE. I mean, I think people will highlight the big projects when they're going to do their networking abroad. So I think we all benefit holistically.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially over the last years. It's more obvious, at least, to the general public, this collective support. It's more obvious, I think.
But the the private sector has done a lot to drive this, a lot to drive this. I mean, I can remember how many journalists we brought to Cyprus over the years, back in the day that we did that, the press tours. There was no way they would just write about the project. I mean, these were people who did their homework, the Financial Times, you know, titles that wanted the backstory. They wanted to know about the agreement with the government at the marina. They're interested in how, and they will ask really grueling questions. They want to know about sustainability. They want to know about green energy. They want to know about architecture. They want to know about wind tunnel tests. I mean, these were journalists who really cared, and they would go away and write articles with Cyprus at the epicenter. And that's amazing to think how much we helped, all of us collectively, raise the caliber and the image of Cyprus. I mean, Limassol Marina, now you'll probably go to the Monaco yacht show, and it's like, now people know Limassol is on the map as a super yacht destination. And of course, that will have helped Ayia Napa Marina, and in turn, that will have a knock-on effect on the next marina. It's all a chain.
One of the things that I consider like a really good opportunity for Cyprus and Cypriots is that you have the chance to drive change, to lead the way. And because we're such a small island, small market, everybody knows everybody, although it's very difficult when you are a leader or you're doing something that it's the first time you are doing it from your group of people or your industry, you get a lot of pushback, yes, sorry. But you still, then it's, once you start, though, it's very easy to evolve and move forward, which is very inspiring, I think, for Cyprus.
You have to push ahead and break boundaries. I mean, when I think, and I'm sorry, I keep going back to Limassol Marina, but I know that you've chatted to Eleftheria as well, and it was a university for all of us, because it was the first time that legislations had to change because it was a port of entry and it was the first time yachts over a certain size were going to come to the island. So it was the catalyst to change. It was the catalyst to changing the area and improving the road networks. You know, and then you have the whole thing of having to constantly drive change in a way that reassures people, because of course you're going to have backlash. Everyone's going to be in uproar. We're going to hear people complaining about the towers
ruining
and the
our
tall
area.
buildings. This is never going to stop. But I can show you emails from 2010 of people who said we were going to kill the wildlife in the marina, that we were going to ruin the city. And when I see the benefits that the marina has had on, it's a landmark for our city. People walk through it every day. It's cleaned the waters. There's activities, there's events, and the same goes for, you know, for Trilogy. People who are up in arms about it are now there enjoying their coffee at the food court. They're coming to the restaurant. They're seeing all the activity with the gallery. I think it's just, we're a little bit afraid of change in Cyprus, and I totally get that. I understand this craving for authenticity. We understand that people are resisting change because they're scared that we're losing grip of our identity. I'm a Cypriot, I'm a Limassolian. I completely understand that. And yes, as a developer and as a group of companies, we do all agree that there should be more monitoring, more clever master planning, more consideration. You know, we don't need 10 cosmopolitan restaurants and bars. How about we do a nice taverna so that when we have guests from abroad in Limassol, we can point them to 2 or 3 really good places.
And if I may add to this, I think it's the lack of legislation, because we are a new form of government, I would say. I know we are getting off subject a little bit. It's the lack of legislation that to build that trust with the citizens that, you know what, we are going to protect, we're doing this huge development project that will change the area, but we did our study, we will protect X, Y, Z. It's part of the whole project's identity. It's not random.
Part of the feasibility. The problem is, and you know, we can be open about this, but the problem is that not everybody will think like Cybarco. Not everybody will think about the vision and the good of the country first. And we all make mistakes. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of things that if we could go back and redo them, we might have done things differently. But the truth is, we're not lacking in the resource and the creativity and the technology. At the moment, we're lacking, I think, in the vision. And this is why when you're looking to change some rules in any, it doesn't have to be in real estate, you have to have a strategy. You have to have an end objective. You have to have sat and thought about these things before you start ad hoc activity. And unfortunately, sometimes we can be very bad at that. And I think we'll all admit it. It's in our DNA, sadly, that because we're also very entrepreneurial and we're very welcome to foreign investment and international audiences, we do have a tendency sometimes to get carried away with the flux and the flow. And I think it takes a very strong brand, be that the Limassol brand or the Cyprus brand, to kind of pull things back in and remind them who we are.
Nice.
Who we are.
But I want to go to this multi-million-dollar question, I would say, or somebody argues. Is it sales or marketing? And how do you differentiate both? Because I heard you talk about basically all of your sentences and points lead back to the importance of brand, the importance of brand, the importance of brand. So how, at the end of the day, but you do get judged, if I may say, on properties you sell or happy customers you have, return customers. How do you balance both and how important sales are when it comes to marketing activities for such a brand such as Cybarco?
Alexia and I laugh sometimes because we might finish an entire day at work and realize that we've done nothing that's really marketing related. And our budgets for marketing, and I'm talking now in terms of, you know, bottom line, everything that we should all be doing, you know, your social media, your sponsored ads, your PPC, your digital, your online, your web banners, your press ads. I can't tell you how little of that we've had. I'm not going to say the leisure to do, because it's part and parcel of the job, but we haven't had the need, because of the way we've been selling over the last few years. We sometimes launch a project and it sells off a PowerPoint presentation before we even have CGIs. So this brings me to your question about sales and marketing. I think one thing we're very passionate about at Cybarco is, because there's so much going on so quickly and it's such a fast-paced sector and things change all the time, we focus on the big picture and the brand strategy. We will do targeted activities where needed when we're launching something. We will make sure that we're top of mind with the business community, the people who are influential in the circles where our customers might be networking.
Which is a very specific customer.
But this is it. The very bizarre thing with our sector and with the people that we're dealing with is that they're not there. They're not in your traditional platforms.
It's not straight.
It's not that simple. I mean, you need to be out there for status. Obviously, if a customer is going to take you seriously and part with 2 million, they need to have seen you in the big billboards on the highway when they arrived in Cyprus. They need to know that you're a serious, credible company. So if they don't know the Lanidis family and they don't know Cybarco, you need to make sure that you're around the areas where they might be going for dinner or their hotels. There's all these little tricks of the trade that we've learned over the past couple of decades. That are not a secret anymore. I mean, all the developers are doing the same thing, which obviously makes it even harder for us because we're bombarding them with so much information. So at the end of the day, because they're seeing everybody now, everybody in all the right places, now you're going a step further. Now you're relying on your trust, your credibility, and your networks, which means that when they're talking with friends or when they're talking to their accountant or their lawyer, you need to be top of mind because the local business community trusts that you're a serious company, that you're going to do things the right way, that you're going to wait for your permit before building, that you're going to wait before selling, to make sure that you've got all your things in place, to make sure that your concern is your buyer. I mean, we always start, we've never decreased our prices. We start with the best price possible for the first investors who have given us their stamp of approval, and then we raise the prices as the product gets more popular, because we believe that those people who've given us their seal of approval deserve the best return. So we're about people. We're very people-centric like that. We like to be transparent with our customers. We like to talk to our customers. So again, even though as marketing, we're not in direct contact with our customers, it goes back to the brand, to the company culture, and to our people. And it all filters through, because if the people working in sales are as aligned with the brand and the ethos and the values as us, then when they have one-to-one contact with the customer, if the product's good, the rest is easy.
And you know, everyone is promising the same things. And the secret recipe for development and real estate is out. You will find a lot of different types of companies that they serve different products, I would say, but within your sector, advertise and be placed in the same locations and places.
Yeah.
which I think everybody cracked the code. Okay, yeah, all right. You got the premium billboard, you got the premium digital screen
and
on.
Don't let it go because you'll never get it back.
Or the 5-star hotel. I get that. And I do agree with you that it's important that you are the network of your target audience, which is very difficult and very specific. It's not like you're going to place an ad on Facebook and people will going to fill in a form and download the brochure and then, okay, here, get my 2 million. They might not even be on Facebook to begin with, or if they are on Facebook, it's not, they are not looking to invest in a 2 million property.
Well, I mean, to be fair, because I've kind of like led this conversation with the special projects. But for example, now we have prices from 300,000. We have a project, Park Residences in Nicosia. We have some apartments and studios in Limassol that are around the same price point, a little bit more. We have Seaview Heights in Yermasoya near Foley School, where we have maisonettes and apartments and a communal pool, which again, the prices can start from 500,000. So it's not that they're not on Facebook. It's just that we are very knowledgeable about where to find these communities. So we can bombard them with what everybody's bombarding them with. And we just don't feel that that's the most effective approach. And with your budget, you have to not spread yourself too thinly. And you were asking me before about other markets. Obviously, there was a time when we did a lot in Russia. There was a time when we did a lot in London. And now we've found that trying to open new markets left, right, and center with a few thousand here, a few thousand there is just not worth doing. We try and bring lead generation to the website from wherever these people are, and then we try and capture them once they're in Cyprus, because you've already hit one of your targets. If they're already on the island, they're interested in Cyprus. If they're already looking for property or they're in Limassol, then they're probably interested in XYZ projects. So it's very much about looking at the whole sales process and the journey and trying to find these people, these communities, and the people influencing them along their time in Cyprus, and existing Cypriot residents as well, because we have a lot of people upgrading their property now.
It's very interesting. Okay, so you have a very specific clientele for some of your brands and properties. You have some more open, I would say, or approachable properties for other types of investors or property owners. How do you evaluate yourselves for success? Because I get the feeling, which is a feeling
that nobody's doing that.
I get a feeling that you do focus and invest a lot in brand image, because as you mentioned earlier, majority of your properties, touch wood, it sells from like the beginning because of your reputation and the portfolio you've built over the years. How do you measure your success, or how do you measure the success of your marketing activities then? What's like...
With absolute difficulty. It's so non-measurable. It's so frustrating.
Exactly.
And now with GDPR, every time we're asked to provide a web report to do an analysis on our sources, organic, direct one. I mean, there's a limited amount of information that we're getting now as well. And with our CRM, we try to pair everything up, and it is so difficult with cookies and everybody rejecting their information. It's very rare. It's very rare. We had a few occasions when we knew directly that a source was from web, tick. We had one buyer who called us after seeing our airport stand, and his, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 million, but his purchase justified our 5 years of being in the airport.
Wow.
So it's hard. It's really hard. The truth is that we have enough of a relationship and a conversation with buyers to know that what works is the brand awareness and the credibility. It's the credibility of the company. Oh, I heard about you, or I've seen you. And of course, you know, projects like Trilogy and Limassol Marina, don't forget, they led with their own branding. So it's not as if Cybarco was like out there blaring. It's just that we were there doing events, hosting presentations, meeting with agents. You know, we have a lot of agents who help. I mean, this is not all done single-handedly, but by our team. So it's all about building relationships. Agamas.
Yeah.
Agamas. I mean, you know how hard it is to get people to come to Agamas to view a property, but when they come, they fall in love with it. And that's another project that is incredibly unique. And it's very difficult to not only measure its success, I mean, it won some awards recently, but also to drive traffic there.
Because it's far away.
If somebody doesn't know where Agamas is, you have to work double as hard, which is why we're very pragmatic. If you're going to buy at Agamas, you've probably already been to Agamas. You've probably already visited Anassa. You're probably a fan of that isolated existence. Yes, you have access to schools and shops, but you're in nature. This is not somebody you're going to find in Dubai at a property expo. It's very unlikely. So we're very careful about where we throw money. It's like very carefully selected.
This summarize that you need to have like a good understanding of how this sector operates and how the people and the buyers within this spectrum behave in order to be able to attract them and find them and communicate the different projects differently. I like the fact that at the end of the day, you're not being judged as successful by how many impressions you brought in or by how many leads you created. It's very refreshing to know that there is this other side of marketing appreciation and evaluation.
We're very fortunate like that, I have to admit. And I mean, obviously, I moved back to Cyprus from London in 2008. So it was the first time I was working with Cypriots. And when I went to Limassol Marina and back then it was the 7 shareholder companies that were launching the project were all from Greece and Cyprus. And these people were deemed like nutters. They're like, who's going to go now and build a 400 million euro marina in the sea after 2013? I mean, that we went through a lot of financial crises to get where we did. But they believed in it and they persevered. And most of them were, yes, they were locals, but with a lot of international experience and international experts on board. And the same applies for Trilogy. I mean, you might not know this because we don't shout about it, but Thornton Tomasetti, the engineers behind the Petronas Towers in Malaysia, did the engineering design for Trilogy with Hakeem. We have a really good bunch of people on board. And now I'm trying to remember what the question was because I'm waffling. I just saw your T-shirt, waffles.
I was basically, I said I find it very refreshing that somebody...
Yes, sorry, I was getting there, sorry. So yes,
right.
Apart from the international owners, we're also very fortunate in the people working with us at Cybarco Development. And I mean, our CEO has a marketing background, which is fantastic. When you've got somebody who has an appreciation of marketing and branding, because I can remember in the early days, people saying, you know, why do we need so much for marketing and PR at the marina? I mean, it was very difficult to explain to some business people that you've got to build this entire brand from scratch in a small town on a tiny island in the Mediterranean, in the middle of nowhere. Effectively for yachts. So it's nice to have somebody who gets that, and it's nice to have a team of people who are now so used to the way that we work and the strategy that we use that they understand that it's about selling more than a property. It's about an experience. It's about a destination. And whether that destination is the project in itself or the wider city or the wider island, at the end of the day, we believe in what we're doing in terms of how it's going to impact everybody on the island. The small businesses, the big businesses. It has to be more than just your little company.
Yes, and your metrics and your success rates and
metrics. I mean, what do they mean at the end of the day? Because I mean, you know, likes. What do likes mean? I can get all the affirmation in the world and the validation that I need by a post. who's seeing it? Who is really seeing it? I mean, I can target all the right people, but how many other things have they seen in the last 30 seconds? Why am I going to stand out? Yes, I might remind them that we've got this amazing project in Sfalangiodissa, but at the end of the day, they will have had to have already seen me and heard about me for that to actually trigger something.
I agree with that. You need multiple touch points for somebody in your sector. It's not they're gonna convert because they saw like really cool or super aesthetic video. You need to be everywhere. You need to be in as many relatable places as possible, so you can keep reminding them and building on that authority you have as a company and why it's worth investing with you that amount of money. So I want to go into a more practical question, if that's okay with you. Because you do multiple things and you're only 2 people. I'm still impressed with that. Shout out to Alexia.
I owe Alexia a cocktail.
But because you do a lot of things, both in Cyprus and abroad, and other million things that you didn't mention, from expos, digital and media and
podcasting
and all the PR and true. How do you gather and evaluate your data? Do you have like any specific tools you use that help you be on top of what's happening at any given time? For example, specific CRM or specific report platform, like anything high tech for your industry that helps you
We don't,
be informed?
Not as much as you'd expect or that you'd think. So we have a very good CRM. I'm not going to dish out all the dirt on that because I try not to get involved deliberately. We have a team and Katerina will download reports for us if we need them. So we evaluate, we have a team of partners as well, Google partners who do our PPC with us. So they give us the monthly reports. We're not, I mean, when I say we're 2 people, it's not like we're sitting there doing all the Google ads ourselves. We're basically coordinating and chasing a lot of partners who've been with us for years. So mainly the only reporting that I would say that we do that's critical to how we evaluate our work is with the web. So to know which countries we should be targeting with our Google ads. And we will evaluate our activities when we're abroad doing conferences and events with sales to see how effective they've been with agents. But that's pretty much it. I mean, even our leads or any information that we get on Instagram, it's not a decision maker for us. It's not a make or break.
What would you say is your best performing channel? And I don't mean the typical channels like Facebook and Instagram. From all the activities you do, from exports, billboards, airports, social, what's your best performing channel?
If I say our people, would that be really, really controversial?
Be interesting.
I mean, I still bump into people now who look at me and say, "Is this Cybarco?" And this is not just how we measure things. This is also our greatest asset. And I'm talking from ownership to leadership and down. The people who have been there and their direct contact with customers, with partners, with agents, updating them on our assets. WhatsApp is something that's huge for us at the moment. And that's something that's really taken off with sales. But I would put it down to our people. I would put it down to PR, our people and our networks. Because there isn't one specific platform that has brought the returns that you would expect for the properties that we've sold at Trilogy, the Marina.
So I want to ask you something that I usually ask at the beginning of each episode, but we started talking and I didn't want to stop the flow of the conversation. But since you're in the industry for many years, but you've been in a very specific sector the last few years, what's your perception of marketing and communication community industry, I would say, in Cyprus? What are the limitations, challenges, or opportunities you think people in marketing have to face?
Okay, well that's a really interesting one actually, because when I moved to Cyprus in 2008, I had previously been working in TV in London, so I was in production, and the kind of productions that we were doing had their own publicity department, their own marketing and branding department. So I was across all that sort of bird's eye view, but I was never directly involved. So when I first came and the opportunity came to start the PR at Limassol Marina, it was the first time I really started to gain an understanding of marketing and branding. I never did marketing before Limassol Marina. So I was so fortunate because the agency in London was already on board. So I learned, and hence the referral to university, I learned all about marketing and branding through that job.
Nice.
And I realized how much of it is learned, but also how much of it is already in your blood, it's in your DNA. So I'm a very creative person anyway, but I never realized how my passion for people and communication and my passion for creativity could come together in a subject like this. So that was my first sort of stepping stone into marketing. And honestly, how much it has changed is beyond me in Cyprus in a very refreshing way. I mean, now there is an appreciation of marketing budgets. There's an appreciation of branding. I mean, honestly, the conversations we were having before about how I feel about branding and values, yeah, maybe in 2008, we might have been the only company thinking like that, one of few. But now everybody has stepped up. And I think that's very encouraging. I love the fact that, yes, okay, competition, but it's great to see that now every developer has a really good focus on branding, on messaging. Okay, a disadvantage is that, like you were saying before, we're all competing for the same piece of the pie. So a lot of the messaging overlaps. There's a lot of copycat stuff going on as well, which is natural. There's a lot of overuse of certain things, which doesn't benefit us, any of us really. I mean, like if the word luxury, I'm exhausted by it. And we were also guilty of that back in the day. The truth is that there is so much available to people now. People have caught on. People have partners abroad. There's some great companies, branding companies, creative companies in Greece that people are using. You can see that the caliber of marketing has changed. Communication, people don't have an option. Now people are communicating internationally. So I like the fact that in a city like Limassol, predominantly, more so than here, there's now an international community of people with marketing experience and marketing know-how. I mean, some of the events happening now, I just saw this before, at the Marketing Next, you know, there's all these conferences, events that are promoting marketing and branding. And by default, by talking about branding, they're touching on leadership. And, you know, you were talking about metrics before, which I completely like overrode, because quite frankly, I will focus on our team building a strategy that works for sales so that sales can go out and do what they do best. So yes, of course, lead generation is absolutely critical for us, but at the end of the day, it's all about the perception and the holistic approach. And that's not something only we are doing. I think everybody now is appreciating the value of events, of CSR, of having an agency be able to follow up for you. And you were talking about the customer experience and touch points, how you reply to people when they contact the company, how fast you reply, the level of care once a customer has come through the door, the level of appreciation for the differences in people and cultures, AI and chat. I mean, all of these are new things now that people are talking about, and that's fantastic. I think that's something that we didn't have before. And when I look back to 2010, you were pretty much, it was dog eat dog. It was very much, I'm doing my thing and I'm not interested in, I want to know what the competition is doing, but I have nothing to gain from others. I have nothing to give others. And I think now there's more of a community building around this, which I really like, and exchanging of ideas.
I wanted to ask you, as somebody who does promotions and ad placements and events both abroad and internally, what do you think is missing from the local market? Either this is from local media or this is from the local scene. What do you think it's missing for your sector to do more?
Look, I mean, I think that I think one of the things that's always frustrated me a little bit in Cyprus is the fear factor. I don't think it's something we can avoid. In such a small place, it's natural that there are political inclinations, that there are obligations. Look, investigative journalism exists to a very minimum here, and that kind of sets the tone for the rest. At the end of the day, there's a habit to regurgitate things as they're given. There's very, very few places you can go where somebody's going to really go out of their way to do something original for you, something that nobody else has done before. And that's not because we don't have talent. I think we have a lot of talent. I just think sometimes cutting corners, cost-cutting, budgets, people end up doing the minimum or doing what's easy. And you know what? We're guilty of it as well. Sometimes we'll do the absolute minimum because we're too pressed for time. It's like, we've got to do this and it's got to go out. I think one of the things that's missing is this, the sort of the voice. The voice. I think not enough people have the confidence to voice their opinion. And that's something I'm very guilty of. I'm very vocal at work in meetings. It's not always the best thing, but I'm very vocal.
Do you think this is I think this is a cultural thing, though?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I'm half English, so I've not been, but also where I worked as well. I was at Sky TV, and I was surrounded by people who were way above me on the corporate ladder, but I could speak openly and it was respected. And we have that, thankfully, at Cybarco. But I know that that's still an issue in Cyprus. I'm sure it can be. So that's one thing. I would say that people not having the confidence to voice their opinion, or not wanting to rock the boat, that's something that we have a bit of a problem with here, generally speaking, compared to other countries. And again, you see, I go back again to the core of our work ethos and methodology. Attention to detail. Attention to detail. Not just in what you're putting out there, not in your artwork or your copywriting or your language, but attention to detail in what you're delivering to your customer. Attention to detail in the after-sales service. Do they feel cared for? Do they feel that you've gone the extra mile to provide something different? Abroad, they are still miles ahead of us with this. And it can be something so small. Something so small, but when you travel, when you go to a hotel, even on Greek islands, like you'll arrive and there might be something very minuscule that just gives you that sense of, these people know their stuff. They've got a good branding agency.
And they care about me.
And they care about me and my experience. So for me, it's those two things which, again, lead me back to people and values, don't they? Which is kind of scary because I came here to talk about marketing, but it feels as if the running theme for me is that there is no point in talking marketing tools unless you go back to strategy. And a strategy is set by your objectives and your target audience. And in order to know that, you have to know your brand.
Again, we circle back to the first insight.
There, because I can't help it. Whichever way I turn, at the end of the day, it's going to come back to that, because what do you have without brand, and what do you have without culture, because at the end of the day, your customer, particularly the high net worth individuals we're dealing with, they can buy from anybody, they can buy anywhere in the world. What's different about us? And going back to Cyprus, we do have to be careful. We have to be careful that us is still Cyprus. We need to remember authenticity. We've tried really hard as well with the people we've engaged with and with Athinagoras Kostatos to bring Greek cuisine back to Trilogy. We have to make sure that we're not just appealing to everybody. You have to try and put your focus and your energy somewhere. Otherwise, you're doing too much with very little impact.
It's actually a very nice way that you ended up at this point, because my final questions that I would like to ask everybody that's been on this podcast, if you have one piece of advice to share for people watching, people in the industry of marketing and communications, what would that be?
I love this job, and I'll tell you what, I love it because it's so diverse, and we're the lucky ones because we get to do a bit of everything. And you know, at the moment I'm helping with the operations at Trilogy as well, and I used to do that at the marina by default, because when you're in marketing, you're the one department that has a grip over the business as a whole, because you have to be involved in sales, you have to understand the product and the service. You do by default get involved in human resources because of the brand and the image of the company. So we're very much dipping our fingers in every pie. We're communicators, so we get to speak to people. We're out there doing our thing. We get to do video, photography, brochures, creative stuff, design, web, native. We're so fortunate. So I think it takes a certain type of person to do marketing. And I never thought of myself as somebody who would end up in marketing. And it's funny how it's kind of my personality that sort of pulled me into the job. So my piece of advice would be, you're in marketing, be that branding, communications, however you want to call it, you're in there for a reason. Got goosebumps. Bye. Because I think it takes a certain personality to want to be in marketing and to be thoroughly enjoying marketing. So be authentic. And I've had many people ask me, would you want to do marketing for this company who sells cars? Or would you want to be in marketing? Why don't you move over to, I keep getting people trying to goad me into other sectors. It's not about what I'm promoting. It's about whether it's something that I believe in and whether it's something that I can stand for. And I think if you're authentic, the right job and the right product will find you. And equally, if you're authentic and you're passionate about marketing, when you're marketing a brand that's not speaking to you, you will end up walking away. So for me, again, marketing, branding, and people.
It's very nice insight, a very nice piece of advice. At this point, I would like to thank you for your time. I know you have like an extremely busy schedule with all the panels you are in and podcasts on your own you're doing and all the work that you have on your day-to-day. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to be part of this series. Very insightful conversation, I must say. And thank you very much for making us the honor to be here and share all your know-how and insights with us.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.